Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Align with Source Energy to receive intuitive messages about your health and well-being. Cultivate your multisensory abilities and open to vast healing possibilities. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted and curious to be in this exploration of our multisensory capacities with one of the most exciting teachers in this arena. Her name is Manuchehri. She's a registered nurse. She's an energy medicine healer and medical intuitive. She's really been at the forefront of bridging more intuitive information with a more traditional medical background, and we've done a number of programs with Marie to great accolades. We recently ran a 7-week program, profound experiences and feedback, so we're super excited to invite her back. And we're also going to have a brand new upcoming deeper dive, a 12-week program, advanced course on multisensory abilities that we'll share a little bit about towards the end of the hour. But with that said, Marie, thank you so much for coming back and sharing more of your wisdom.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, let's dive in with a little bit of your backstory. I think it's really cool the way you sort of, trained up you had your sort of metaphysical upbringing, and then you're trained up in more traditional science and healing, and then integrated that with all the work now. But I'd love to just kind of have people have a sense of that journey and what you're bringing to this.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising to me when it became clear that nursing was a good choice for me because my family of origin is so incredibly holistic. And I loved nursing school. I loved working in hospitals. It was extremely fun for me. And when you align to things that bring you joy that make no sense to your logical mind, which we'll talk more about today as well, that means you're in alignment. You have to ignore the logical mind, and everyone's logical mind works a little bit differently, has a lot to do with our childhood and what we were taught to believe in and what we experienced at a really young age. And so luckily, I was able to go against mine. And while I was working as an oncology nurse in a Seattle area hospital, I began to have many, many psychic experiences. My patients' bodies began to talk to me while I would be at the bedside changing a dressing or an IV or some medical important task. And I wasn't afraid. People ask me all the time, does that stuff scare you? I'm like, no, I've never found it to be fearful at all. In fact, I think human regular life is more fearful to me than the multisensory world. I feel I have to work on being comfortable in the human world, so to speak. And I was very blessed. I eventually told a supervisor, my nurse supervisor, what was happening to me because I didn't want to have one of our patients go downhill, so to speak, and need a code. And I was the charge nurse, so I had to run codes. And I had a rule while I worked in the hospital that no one coded on my watch, which no one ever did. And that meant that I either had to change their code status through their physician's order or transfer a patient to the critical care unit before they would code. And I was so afraid I wouldn't be able to catch those telltale signs of something happening to our patients and they needed more advanced support. So I told my nurse supervisor I was seeing things and hearing things, and she didn't act surprised. She said, oh, well, you're seeing energy. And she actually had a very similar upbringing to me, which I didn't know at the time. And she encouraged me to lay my hands on our patients and to do energy work on them. So I trained myself in the hospital. I'm a self-taught healer and learned a lot by reading patients' charts and then laying hands on them and looking at the way I see energy. I created my own encyclopedia in my brain about what energy medicine looks like compared to conventional medicine. And it's been a wonderful, incredible experience for me for almost 30 years now.
It's an amazing background, and it's so fortuitous that you ran into somebody that was open to what was emerging for you. So let's talk a little bit about what you perceive, what you can start to perceive in terms of the intuitive ability, and how that really then informs how we approach any sort of health challenge.
And well, the first thing you have to do is you have to stop listening to your mind. It's so incredibly imperative. Like if I had listened to my mind, I would have never gone to nursing school. I certainly would not have the job I have today because my logical mind was against those things. And remember, logic has everything to do with how you were raised, what you were taught. I was raised to not support modern medicine, yet I love every form of medicine, including modern medicine. So you have to be really aware of your own beliefs and thoughts that you have in your own body, because intuition is going to be the complete opposite. And if you don't have a good sense of what is logical for you, you may miss the subtleness of intuition. And if you miss the subtleness of intuition, then you can't follow it. You can't really see if it worked out, if it was effective, if it was accurate for you.
Cool. So let's talk about how to start to open up to some of these higher level perceptions, what you call sort of multisensory abilities.
I think one of the first things to do, besides keep track of what you really believe in, like that is super, super important. And I'm not asking people to change their beliefs. I'm just asking everyone to recognize that intuition is a broader aspect of knowledge and awareness, and it doesn't really care what you believe in. It's going to give you the perfect solution that's going to be the most effective, but you have to be aware of your resistance, and because the logical mind will be so strong and say, no, 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 you should never go to nursing school, or you should never do this. Like, I have a dog now, and it took 3 years for my brain to not say to me every morning when I woke up, oh my gosh, we have a dog, because I was a cat person my whole entire life. I never had a dog, got bit by a dog. And it took 3 years for my mind to stop making a comment of surprise. So it's going to be extremely important to recognize that, so that you can start to see, hear, and feel the subtleness of intuition. And intuition can get very, very loud in your life, but your mind has to become quieter. So if you stop, constantly paying attention to it. So let's say someone else would wake up in the morning and they heard, oh my gosh, we have a dog, because their logical mind was against getting a dog. They might spend the rest of the morning analyzing and then processing that and wondering if they made a mistake, because that's what humans do when their logical mind communicates to them. They go off the rails and overthink and analyze the information. And that has to stop immediately. You have to catch yourself, because you want to run your energy at a very high frequency. And when you're in your logical mind, you're actually at a lower vibrational frequency, unless you're doing logical things. Like today, I needed to make sure that I turned my lighting on before we got on Zoom. Important logical things that are in the moment. Logic is not meant to be used for the past or the future. It's only for the present moment.
It's interesting. So it's sort of like if your logic is matching the needs of the moment, then it sort of can be higher vibration. But if you're using logic when something else is called for, then it actually kind of tends to suppress or lower the vibration, it sounds like. Absolutely.
And when you start to not pay attention to your mind, I mean, you're going to hear it. I hear my brain all day long. I just ignore it. 99% of the time, I ignore it. And that allows you to raise your frequency and your vibration. It allows you to look out the window, look at trees, art in your room, listen to beautiful sounds, smell beautiful smells, and that heightens that multisensory ability. It allows this beautiful flame that actually exists in our body, especially empathic old soul people. They have this gorgeous flame that actually starts in the pelvic floor and goes all the way to the crown of their head. It's very purple in the pelvic floor, and then it is kind of a yellowy glowing light in the center of them, and then it gets really, really bright light as it moves up to the crown. And what feeds this light and allows it to really burn is joy and happiness. It's normal to be fulfilled. It's normal to be joyful. And so if we can shift our vibration from that analyzing of some logical thing that doesn't make any sense anymore or never made sense, and you focus on something joyful, you allow that flame to really burn inside of your body. And it's that flame that helps you to pay attention to the vibration of the universe and the way it communicates to you.
That's a fascinating description of the flame at the core of being of old souls. And I wonder if you can build on that and talk a little bit more about how the larger universe communicates and exchanges with that flame at our core.
Great question. So each of us has one of our logical senses, one of our five senses is prominent for us. And I know some people will say, but all of them are for me. And that's okay too. But if you're one of those people, maybe pick one. So Stephen, you might be very visual. Some people are really auditory. Some people are very clairsentient. It has to do with texture and touching and of course, feeling their energy system. So if you can pay attention to that fifth sense, that is actually really strong for you and recalibrate your energy with it all the time by focusing on something joyful, a joyful image, a joyful smell, a joyful feeling, then that flame is going to be even more powerful. And that's when the universe, or when you're going to feel the universe interacting with you, because the universe constantly interacts with everyone all the time. But most people have their flame, really tiny or hardly burning at all. And they're, again, thinking about, oh yeah, did I make a mistake getting that dog? Just thinking about ridiculous things that mean absolutely nothing. And then they can't hear the divine. They can't see the divine coming to them. So I'm highly visual. And what happens for me, and this is why I focus on joy all the time, because it makes my life 1,000 times easier and way more fun, things will start to highlight for me. It's like the universe is trying to get my attention. So all of a sudden a tree might seem like it's glowing, and that's a sign to me the universe has something important to share with you right now, which may make me stop, sit on a park bench if I'm outside, or if I'm in the house, go sit on the couch for a moment, maybe do a little bit of automatic writing, or just close my eyes and go in a slightly meditative place. Or if you can, stop and just look at the highlighted thing, whatever's glowing, because the information can come from that place as well.
That's truly fascinating. So it's sort of like you're identifying more with the flame, the light in yourself, and then you sort of getting signals or that are guiding you that are more kind of light based towards what you need to do next. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'll tell a little story. I have a lot of them, but I'll tell you a little story. I had made a very large purchase quite a while ago, and things were not going well with this very large purchase that I made. And my family, the only church we ever went to was a Quaker church. So hiring a lawyer wasn't part of our normal thinking, and things were not going well. And I did not want to hire a lawyer. I absolutely did not want to. But I could feel the resistance. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. One of the ways you can tell when you're in your brain, because that's the challenging part for humanity, is when am I in my brain and when am I connected to my inner light? And the way you know that you're in your brain is you start having resistance. And I even have a daughter who's an attorney who I adore, and I think her work is amazing. So with the fact that I was feeling that, I could feel myself kind of like my spine was getting tight and I was feeling agitated. And that's how I knew I was in resistance. And I needed to actually be open to the fact that I may need to hire a lawyer because things were not going in a good direction. And I'd worked very hard on this. At the same time that I was recognizing that I was in resistance, and everybody feels resistance, but a lot of times humans think that if you're in resistance, you have to push harder, but that's not what it means. It means that you're pushing too hard and you need to regroup. So once you feel that you're in some sort of resistance, which usually is a feeling of frustration or anger or stubbornness, or I'm never going to do that kind of reaction, then you want to actually go into a place of letting go, a place of surrendering, because you need to regroup your energy. You need to kind of move into a still point. And what my guides expressed to me to do in that moment when I went, oh my gosh, I might have to hire a lawyer, they had me to imagine that this very expensive thing that I bought, which actually was a house, that it had fallen down, because that was my fear, that it had completely fallen down, and I was living in it with the deer and the raccoon and ivy. And I happen to love nature. So they wanted me to really, really let go. And letting go sometimes means that you kind of sit with what you're most afraid of and be okay with what you're most afraid of, which is another reason why people resist so much, because they don't even want to entertain the idea that that thing that they're most afraid of may happen to them. But I did that for a couple of weeks. I just imagined the house fell apart and I was living in it with deer and raccoon and ivy, and I relaxed. I got happy. So you start paying attention to your energy. My flame got really, really, really light. And then I just happened to run across the best attorney for that problem lived in Seattle, which is where I live. Best attorney in the country, awarded the best attorney in the country. He answered the phone when I called him. And of course, he fixed everything.
That's a great thing. So resistance, so paying attention to resistance is really important, but then you're not trying to like force your way to change that or something. You're sort of redirecting towards the joy, what's making you joyful and happy, or at least sort of making peace with whatever the feared scenario is. And that's sort of the prerequisite for re-amplifying your energy, it sounds like.
Yeah, so resistance means you're on the wrong track. You are not going in a good direction. You're not going to get the resolution that you want. You're fighting it, and you're in your logical mind. And remember, everyone's logical mind is different. Like someone else would have gone, oh, I'm going to hire a lawyer right away, and they would have had all that resistance. But because of the way I was raised, and that's why you have to really pay attention to your early development, even if you've changed your belief systems over time. Like I love having a daughter who's an attorney. I love what she does in the world with her legal profession. I think it's really cool and interesting. I still have these, grassroots belief about not fighting things and holding, trusting in the universe, right? Because that was how I was raised. So yeah, resistance is actually something really valuable, super, super valuable. A lot of people go, I don't want to have any resistance. You want to be super aware of your resistance, because that's when you know you're blocking your energy and that your vibration is low, especially when you're in the beginning of understanding what vibration is and how to hold a frequency. And of course, it does take practice, and it's something you have to work on all the time for the rest of your life, because as your vibration increases, you're going to reach certain plateaus in your joy and happiness, which would be wonderful. But then you're going to want to create and manifest more amazing things, have a deeper connection with the multisensory world, hear or feel that experience more often. So you're going to want to raise that plateau even more. So you're going to have to get even happier, which will seem impossible once you reach a certain happy place in your life and you start to notice that everything in your life works out for you, because that's what happens when your vibration is elevated.
I'd love for you to explore a little further into sort of the inquiry process and asking questions. And so when you find yourself in the you're not going in the right direction, there's resistance, it's sort of like, how do you sort of navigate through that and ask the right questions and start to really get the information flowing about what needs to shift?
That's a really, really, really great question. One of the ways I do this with clients, I take 1 to 2 clients per year who are diagnosed with terminal illnesses, and I do that work pro bono. I mean, I have other clients that are pretty ill as well, but I take on a couple that have really, really difficult cases. And last year I worked, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, I worked with someone who had pancreatic cancer, which is deadly in the United States, at least, and throughout the world. Its mortality rate is 98%. And this was a young person. And she had, because I asked her, what happened in your life, so many years ago, because I could feel there was some major block in her life that created an extreme amount of stress in her life. And there had been some legal problem with someone she really, really loved that affected her entire family. And she felt incredibly guilty. And logically, she had every reason to feel the way she did, every logical reason to feel that way. So I had to work with her for quite a while to get her to back away from her logical mind and look at something from a different perspective. And so when you do that, she's healthy and well and traveling the world now, which is wonderful. So when you do that, you have to be really kind to yourself about it. And you don't want to push yourself or force yourself too much. I think we need to be pretty ginger with our energy and our humanness. I think what goes a long way is a lot of love and kindness. So if she was changing her perspective, and I wasn't saying that her perspective was right and my perspective was wrong, I was just introducing a completely different perspective so that she could perhaps get herself a get out of jail free card, so that she could, then her energy could be used to heal her body instead of trying to understand this highly complicated, very difficult legal situation that was encompassing her entire family. And so as you're in that process, you want to be super kind and loving to yourself. Like, honey, I love you. I know this is really scary. I know you feel bad about yourself right now. I know you're blaming yourself, but what if we just engage for a moment in this other idea? And I think if we even ask that question, even if you don't know what the other idea is, you're going to start to be infused with new ideas. Because remember, the universe is constantly available, constantly feeding us information. Human beings are just kind of walking around the planet like this with their head down and their flame extinguished and they can't hear and see this valuable information that's always being communicated to them.
It's a fascinating story, and it sort of also points to why this multisensory work is so important for health as well. So what I'm hearing is that it's like if you have these kind of something that's blocking, circulating, not freeing up that energy, that is much more likely to sort of cause some downstream health issues. And so it's like working upstream on those blockage points is really central to the radiant health that we can do. This is what I'm hearing, right?
Absolutely. I would say that's the biggest thing I do in my practice besides move energy in people's bodies. And I love it when I can see energy, because no matter how complicated their diagnosis is, if I can see it, I know I can help shift the frequency and the vibration. But what I'm also helping my clients with is to change their perception at the same time in between our sessions, so that their energy starts to increase, that flame increases, so that when I do shift their energy, they're able to take full advantage of the vibrational shift.
So I think to dive a little deeper into that, so it seems like there's a propensity for people to sort of go back into the old patterns. And so you're sort of having to do things between sessions, and not enough just to necessarily shift at once. So you have to kind of build some momentum in a new direction. Maybe share a little bit about what tends to create that momentum in a new pattern, a new direction.
That's such a great question. If you start to get happy for no reason, which is actually what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody's working so hard to be happy. And yet they don't engage in anything happy. They listen to NPR, they watch the news, they fret over Twitter, it's on and on and on and on. And you shouldn't do any of those things unless it's going to raise your vibration. So in other words, someone who should be working in the political arena or, run, social media programs, it should raise their vibration. And that's another sign that we're moving into a career path that we're aligned with, because it raises your vibration. Whenever I think about a hospital, I get happy. If I see someone with a portacath, which is a entry form for chemotherapy, because I know what it looks like if they're out in the main world, I'm so excited. I just want to go over there and hug them. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So if you start to focus on joyful things, or at least things that you like, because a lot of people are even afraid of the word joy. They keep their energy so low. It seems like a foreign concept to get to a place that's called joy. So even if you could just focus on the things that make you happy, just a little bit happy, you're going to start running that flame in your body, and you're going to start to identify careers, friendships, partners, health remedies, how to make more wealth, because everything that is good for us exists in a high vibration and frequency. Here's a kind of tiny example of changing one's perception. When your lovely technical person, I think it was Joel, came on early today to make sure that everything was working fine on my end, he commented on the 2 pieces of art that are on the wall. I said he liked them. And I go, oh, thank you. I did those. He goes, oh, you're an artist. I go, no, I'm not an artist. Yeah, I go, just throw wax on wood or canvas and blow heat on it. And he goes, well, that means if you put it on the wall, it means you're an artist. So that was just another, I need to change my perception about this thing that I love to do, because many people have actually made a similar comment, but I keep throwing it out of my brain. But now I'm going to start to, what if I am an artist? And so that's when those what if questions that I've talked about in so many classes become so incredibly helpful. What if my body is happy? What if I've done work and I can allow myself to have a loving partnership? What if I'm getting clearer and clearer on my natural gifts and talents, and I am emerging into an incredible profession? If you start doing what if questions, and that helps to calm down that mind that's watching NPR, which I don't recommend unless it brings you authentic joy. And the word interesting does not mean joy. I think that needs to be really clear, because I think Twitter is really interesting. I think politics is really interesting, but I don't have a joyful feeling about it. So I really shouldn't be spending a lot of my time there. Well, it might be fun to do an exercise if we have time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I want us to kind of embrace that flame that's inside of us. So we're just going to Well, I'm going to actually do it up the back because Kundalini energy runs through the spine. And it actually enters through the front of the second chakra and then moves all the way through the body into the back of the second chakra and starts to run in this figure eight electric blue color all the way up the spinal area. And then it enters the occiput and activates all the glands in our brain to stimulate our intuition. So I'd love for us to do an exercise where we can activate that beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous energy. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And maybe just before we go into this moment, just recall something that makes you happy. Like I love warm cups of water. I've got one right next to me. I'm just going to touch it for a second. I love warm cups of water or broth or anything like that. Maybe you love the color blue. Maybe you love night skies or the smell of oregano. But just give yourself some sort of reminder of something that you really love, because that's going to start to raise the vibration in your body, get that flame going so we can get some gorgeous Kundalini to run up your spine. And then please rotate your eyeballs upward underneath your eyelids as if you're trying to look into your eyebrows or the ceiling above you. And just take a few belly breaths, breathing more exclusively in the belly versus the chest. One more beautiful belly breath, just letting a Buddha belly emerge in this lower abdominal area. And then I'd love for you to bring your awareness to your lower back. Even if your lower back doesn't always feel good, when energy expands, it isn't always what people think it will be. So I'm going to encourage you to go to your lower back no matter what, and just be present with it. So just imagine that you're sitting, whether you hear it, see it, or feel it, or you somehow know that it's there. Imagine that there's a 3-inch version of yourself sitting cross-legged or some comfortable sitting position in your lower back, and you're looking out to the world from your lower spine. But your eyes are closed in there too, because you're in this lovely meditative state. And now you can relax those eyeballs. They can be anywhere underneath your eyelids. And I'd love for you to creatively experience that flame in that 3-inch version of yourself. Beautiful purple in the lower abdominal area. Maybe it just feels like purple, like a purple smoothie. Or you're hearing music from purple rain. Just allow yourself to have that experience. And you might notice your body kind of swaying back and forth, and that's perfectly fine. Or you might feel that you're rotating a little bit internally inside. That's perfectly fine. Because when we start to move Kundalini energy through the back, it allows us to sway because the vertebrae become more relaxed. We tend to tighten the vertebrae. And this area of the body that we're working on right now is our will. So we can get out of the way, recognize resistance, but be brave enough to step away from it and be curious. So there's purple in that really lower part of the spine. And now that warmth is building, kind of a yellowish flame. You might hear a flame or allow yourself to remember what the sound of fire is. Take another deep breath, almost letting your arms expand a little bit away from your body to make room for the flame in your spine and the Kundalini to rise. Kundalini is a powerful healing energy and a powerful psychic energy. And now the flame is getting hotter and hotter as it gets whiter and whiter. It's becoming like blinding white light, or burning so fast you can barely see it flicker. Or it's becoming quiet at the top because it's so hot, but it's beginning to fill the chest cavity, move through your neck, and all the way to the top of your head. And whether you see this, hear this, or feel it, or just creatively know that it's there, that's perfect. And really let the flame burn in your gorgeous, wonderful body. And we're just going to say a beautiful prayer to the universe, our higher self, whatever you want to call it, source energy. Thank you for allowing me to become more aware of what's in my highest good. I'm grateful for our connection on this journey and my ability to know. And we'll just let the flame burn after that beautiful prayer, which is a form of manifesting, thanking the universe for what you want before it's here, or in enhancing the experience even more while we're here. And if you can, have a moment of gratitude for something that you thought previously wasn't the best thing in your life. Like, I'm thanking my kids' dads so much, my children's father, for being such a devoted teacher and for helping me to grow and expand my consciousness. I'm so grateful. So find something that you can be grateful for while the flame is burning so beautifully and your Kundalini is super activated. Your spine might get really straight. When Kundalini gets activated, we straighten our spine. If you feel pressure in your head, that's okay. If you feel color or hear color, great. And let's be kind to ourselves too. Like, say to yourself, thank you so much, and use your name. I want to say thank you so much, Marie. You can use your own name, for being devoted and doing the work to be happy while living on earth. And make a beautiful smile to help your immune organs while the flame is burning. Good, and now we're going to come back to the room. So feel your glute muscles where you're sitting or if you're lying down. Feel your backside somewhere. Wiggle your toes or move your wrists and slowly begin opening your eyes.
Thank you for that. What beautiful, beautiful guided process. Let's talk a little bit about action. I know that so it sounds like building momentum in a positive direction is really important to have follow through and have steps that you take. And so maybe talk a little bit about when you get these insights, openings, recognitions, and realizations, the importance of moving things forward that help to reinforce that.
It's so incredibly important. You're not going to know if your insight was accurate if you don't follow through. And so I think if everyone could look at it as a science project, that's how I look at all of my intuitive experiences, or the majority of them, is I think of myself as a scientist, and scientists are always in the present moment. They may have a hypothesis. It's in a file or on a computer these days, but it's far away from them. They don't even look at that hypothesis. They may come with it at the beginning of the science project, but then they're watching whatever they are creating. Let's say if they're making a medication, let's say that, or something of that nature, they're watching every step of the procedure that it's going through. And then they look at the hypothesis to see if it was accurate, but they are present and they're excited and they're going, oh, that's interesting. Wow, look what that happened. We did this and this and look what happened. That's what science is all about. So if you can stay out of the emotional component of the aspect and recognize your resistance and try not to go into the future about what it means, you're going to be richly rewarded, because intuition is always three things. It's calm, and that's why we don't always recognize it so quickly. It's very compassionate, so it communicates in a kind way. And I think of science that way. Science is calm. Scientists are compassionate with each other. They have to measure things and pour things. And so they have to be, they have to share and be cooperative with one another. And then the last and most important thing about intuition, it's always a surprise. It's always a huge surprise. So in that legal thing that I briefly talked about in the beginning, when I did hire that lawyer, he recommended that I write a big letter to a city organization. And I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to write it down. I was in resistance. I knew I was in resistance. So I walked outside of my house and I said to the universe, and you can always ask the universe for help. And remember what the senses that you hold on to the most, or that you pay attention to the most, because that's how it's going to show up most likely. And I said, okay, I don't want to write this letter. I can tell I'm in resistance. Could you give me a sign? You can always ask for a sign whenever you want to. And a beautiful, huge, white, fluffy owl flew over my head, like practically in the level of my eyes and then over my head. And when I think of owls and hawks and eagles, they're predators, and I was feeling like I was, being aggressive, and I don't want to be aggressive, but the universe was saying, you need an owl right now. And so I said, okay, I got it. And I went in there to write it. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. And I walked outside again, and my kids were with me. They were visiting, and I told them about the owl. They didn't believe me. They're like, okay, Mom. And the owl came back and flew over all three of us. So I went right in there, typed the letter, and sent it immediately. So even if you start to follow through and you even lose a little bit of your juju or your passion for it, and you start to go back into resistance, which is really the human condition. This is what humans do all the time. They may even hear their wisdom or see it or feel it, and then they talk themselves out of it. Then they hear it and see it. It's just this interesting process. But if you get enough signs, quickly, just go in there and do it fast, get it done fast, and then be the scientist and see what happens. And my lawyer gave me great advice. He was absolutely correct.
Very cool. The whole thing around surprise being the kind of third aspect, I think, is really intriguing around expectations too. And I know you wanted to just talk a little bit about expectations and how having a different relationship and releasing those is really important to sort of live in this more kind of open-ended, multidimensional way.
Yeah, I love exactly what you just said, because most people don't know what their natural gifts and talents are. They don't know what would bring them great joy. Just like I didn't know working in a hospital would bring me so much joy and open up my psychic ability. So when you start to follow your joy, you're going to stay in this place of you're just going to be happy for no reason. And of course, you're even going to be like, why am I happy? Even though that's what everybody wants, your mind's going to go, why am I happy? And you just have to even let go of that. Like, what if you're happy and there's no exact reason? And that's why you're in that happy vibration, you run into someone who becomes your new best friend, or you run into someone who owns a company that you've always wanted to work for, or all of a sudden you inherit a bunch of money that comes into your life that changes your reality. I had some clients years ago who had some infertility issues. Actually, they were a same-sex couple and they were trying to have a baby. And their naturopath kept sending them back to me because she knew they needed to change their perception, and because things weren't working. And so I told them, and this is the fun part, if you have to let go of your expectations. Again, I said to them both, first of all, let's just pretend you have a baby, not how it got there, not if it came from one of your bodies. Let's just get rid of that, because sometimes when we have an expectation, that's just way too much stress, and then our body can't function well, but we can't receive the information that we want from the universe. So I told them, just go make a nursery. They didn't want to make a nursery until the baby came. I said, scratch that, go make a nursery, make it beautiful, have fun with it. And every time you walk past that room, keep the door open, imagine that the baby's in there, but not how it got there, not where it came from. And of course, they didn't really want to do it. They had resistance, but their naturopath kept sending them back to me. So they decided to do it. And after a couple of weeks of doing it, they came up with a completely different plan. One of the moms was younger, and the younger mom didn't want to become pregnant. The other mom wanted to become pregnant. So they actually used the younger mother's eggs and did in vitro process and put it inside the older mom, and she actually had twins. So they had a boy and a girl. They were done having their kids. They were completely done, but they didn't have that idea, had not occurred to them, because the younger mom didn't want to be pregnant. They didn't think about harvesting her eggs. It had never come up in any conversation at all. So you definitely want to start to feel without expectation, not how it happened, whatever you desire, as if it's already here.
That's interesting. That just opens up the field of so many potential pathways to the creation. That's really is keeping more of an open door to however the universe wants to work. Well, let's talk about, we haven't made it as explicit. We've talked about the universe and the flame of our energy, but specifically source energy and why connecting with source energy is really important to this creative process. So maybe share a little bit about, you understand what source energy is and how do we differentiate and really connect with that so that we're operating from the highest frequency.
Love it. Yeah, great question. So I like the G word. I like God. Not everybody likes that word, but it could be universe, cosmos. I believe that creation, or the G word, whatever word you want to use, is literally energy. That's all it is energy. And it's like the way I visualize this huge, gigantic, enormous ball of energy that way out in the cosmos. It's probably encompasses everything, actually. And each one of us, our soul, birthed out of this large ball of fire or energy, and we are our own ball of energy. And so we come from this incredible source energy. So we are incredible too, each and every single one of us. In fact, we are birthed into creation. Each soul comes into being because the universe, creation, God, whatever word you want to use, had this incredible, inspirational, unique idea. And it wants to see it play out in the world. So it births a soul, which is you or me or, everyone. And then that soul gets to go out in the world with its own unique abilities and understanding and perceptions and play out in this magical universe.
Very cool. So how do you, anything you want to share about just how to maintain that level of kind of source level connection throughout your day?
So, source, the universe, the multi-universe, there are many things that don't exist in their world, although Earth is part of their world. Like nothing is separate. We're all one. But Earth is one of the lowest time-space realities in all of the cosmos. So outside of Earth, the majority of realities do not even have language or vocabulary for war or crime or famine. They don't exist outside of contractual realities like Earth, which souls may choose to come to Earth to have a contractual experience to wake up. A lot of people wake up or become aware because something happened in their life. In fact, my former spouse, who's been married a few times, his friends always say, "What do you do to your wives? They change." He's a really good transformer. He forces us to change. And we're very, very different people at the end of that kind of relationship. He's a wonderful transmuter. So if we can start to look at that, the weird things, the things we wish would never happen or we regret or we think are bad, especially when you're on here on planet Earth, that those things your soul called for. Your soul said, "I really, really want to learn this." Like in my case, I really wanted to learn to be empowered. I wanted to really understand my own power and work with it and have it in my life. And so I learned through all kinds of interesting relationships where I felt the complete opposite, to embrace my power and to live it and have it be a part of my life. So when we come to Earth, we usually say, before we reincarnate, because we all sit around this lovely round table with spirit guides and archangels and source energy, and we contemplate what we want to learn. And reincarnation is also a choice. Free will is the strongest law in the universe. And then the universe kind of says, "Okay, great. So if, let's say, after 20 or 30 years, you don't learn that thing, how about if we just pull the rug out from underneath of you, since you're going to be on Earth anyway? And that might help you to gain a stronger sense of awareness." And we say, "Oh, sure. Yeah, go right ahead. That's perfectly fine." And so we come to this lovely place on Earth where we have opportunities that seem unfair or unkind or not in our best interest, but they're actually they actually can stimulate the flame that we may leave dormant as we walk around the planet, not feeling that we are worthy or deserving or lovable until we all of a sudden awaken and start to recognize that we are magnificent, precious creatures like everyone else.
Well, Marie, you're so uplifting to be around, and I just love your perspective. So let's talk about your upcoming program that we mentioned earlier. So there's an incredible opportunity to do a deep dive with Marie and really learn how to become multisensory, to raise your vibration, to work with frequency, to be intuitive in your reading of the life and each other and other people, clients. She's really very gifted in teaching people how to live in this way. So the program is going to be a 12-week program. It's called Unlock Your Multisensory Abilities. Fine-tune your intuitive perceptions and expand your capacity for healing by aligning with source energy. You can find it laid out in detail at the URL multisensoryabilities.com. There's no dash in there, just multisensoryabilities.com. And it is going to be a deep dive with a lot of practice, a lot of core teachings, and really a chance to shed a lot of patterning, limiting beliefs, things that are kind of stuck energies that are blocking your essence, and really make a profound contribution to your well-being, your happiness, and your health as well. So, Maria, I'd love for you to share a little bit about why you're offering this program, how it can benefit people, and then I'll read out the module titles. You give us a preview of what's coming in each.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen. Well, I am that scientist. I actually do all the things that I teach. I love, love, love everything to do with energy medicine and consciousness and awareness. But what I love even more is humanity. I have been madly in love with the human race my entire life. I didn't really understand that till I became a nurse, and it didn't matter what someone was going through or what they looked like, no hair, missing a limb, tubes all over their body. I always think that human beings are just stunning, gorgeous, incredible creatures. And I can't follow everybody around the planet and whisper in their ears all day long. I mean, it does sound like fun. And I certainly have had a lot of clients ask me to do something like that, but I can't. So I started teaching online right before the pandemic took off, by the way, and it has been incredibly rewarding for me. And so many people have changed and have been able to take these principles. I think it's cool to be in a teaching group because there's a lot of energy in that group. And so it can help us to learn how to hold that vibration and frequency and gain new perception. And we learn so much from other people. Even if not everyone's talking, we learn a lot from everyone's energy exchange. So I feel devoted to help humanity to be happy and fulfilled and healthy and in alignment. I think it's so incredibly normal. And I want everyone to have the opportunity to have those experiences.
It's awesome. Module 1 is called Align to the Perception of Source Energy for High Vibrational Responses and Wonderful Solutions.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about perception. We're going to get new ideas. I'm going to bring up concepts that either were mine, because my concepts aren't what everybody else had. Some people really have believed in modern medicine and not holistic medicine, which I find is fascinating. So we're going to talk about different areas of life and talk about the different perceptions, different ways you could look at it. And of course, not push people to believe in those things, but just open up the door for it so they could get curious.
Module 2, Cultivate Follow-Through for Valuable Guidance and Enlightened Decisions.
Yeah. So this is always a tricky part where you have to stop listening to your mind and actually do what it recommends that you do. And I know I talk about my dog, Charles, a lot. I'm so sorry I bring him up so much. Partially it's because I don't remember all of my client sessions. In fact, I only remember a small percentage of them. And then I'm fiercely protective of my clients as well. So I bring up Charles, and even when I'd already decided to buy a dog, like I got through my resistance, I decided to buy a dog. The whole time I was driving there, I was mad at myself, telling myself I was stupid. I'm making a mistake. This is dumb. And so we want to catch ourselves when we're in that place so we can actually do the follow through. Luckily, I had someone in the car who was going, no, this is going to be fine. It was one of my kids. It's fine, Mom. I think you're going to love it. Don't worry about it. Otherwise, I would have just turned around and come straight home, let go of my deposit and tell the breeder I'm not picking up the dog. That's what humans do all day long. And we need to move through that, stay devoted to our consciousness that doesn't make sense so that we can enjoy and create and attract a stunning life.
Module 3, decipher your emotions and follow your curiosity for your best true-hearted direction and answers.
Yeah, I'm always delighted by intuition, but of course I've been consciously working in the intuitive world for 30 years, and also recognized I was intuitive when I was a kid, but I didn't realize it. And everyone is naturally intuitive, at least for their very own life. And then there are people who are intuitive for the public as well. And so learning to detach from the fear of being intuitive, the fear that you know something that other people don't know. I can tell you that so many people will say to me, like if they see me out in the road and out in the real world, they almost get nervous that what are you doing out here? I'm like, getting a cup of tea, grocery shopping. It's like we have all this weird fear about intuition, as if it belongs to this secret club, and that the secret club is seeing things about you that you would never want anyone to see. But that's not true. Intuition is extremely positive. It's very loving. It's very compassionate. And so it's not something that's this creepy, weird, lurking thing that people are going to know about you, or you're going to know about other people that you have to keep quiet about. It's really about what's ever in the highest good. It doesn't mean you won't get information that could be freeing for you. But, even when I've asked the universe to show me the beauty of my previous marriage, when I'm in a annoyed mood about it, the universe always shows me one picture, and it's my children's dad and us laughing our heads off. The kids are like maybe 5, 7, and 9, and we are laughing our heads off. And that's the only picture the universe shows me. So the universe is very kind and doesn't say mean things about people or anything. It's extremely compassionate. So understanding that so people will feel free to allow that awareness in would be really cool.
Module 4, communicate with your body to heal yourself and others.
Oh my gosh. Luckily I've learned to tone it out. But when I first started to hear people's bodies, I would, be shopping somewhere, because I am a shopper, I must admit. And I would try to run into that person or talk to them so I could talk them into going to the doctor or getting a colonoscopy or whatever it was that I was hearing. And it didn't work. It didn't go over very well, by the way. People don't like that. And my guide sat me down one day and said, you're in the yellow pages. If someone wants to see you, they'll find you. But what I'm trying to share here is that everybody's body is talking to them all the time. We need to listen to our bodies. I think that's really important. And the one thing your body will never, ever, ever do to you is scare you. So when you're in fear about your body, you are not listening to anything authentic. You're in your ego. You're closing down your energy system. You're reducing that flame. You are not listening to intuition, because the universe will be kind and compassionate about it. Even if it's saying, let's go to the doctor, that will be fun. That's what it will be like. They communicate only through love and kindness. So if we keep looking at our body from fear and anxiety, we're not going to be able to hear its messages. And if you start listening to the messages of your body, you don't have to go to the doctor. You'll just change your diet or take new supplements or exercise more or get more sleep or drink more water or whatever it is that your body wants.
Module 5, taking your vibrational expertise to the next level. Communicate with the future to cultivate a fulfilling present. Really interesting.
I love talking to the future. Of course, one of the ways you can do this is through automatic writing. But remember, time is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's a man-made phenomenon. So even some of our past lives are from future lifetimes. There's a lot of information about the future that could be really helpful for you. Even in something that you're going through right now, you could get information from a previous life that was in the future to help you navigate through a current relationship. I think that if we think about the future, let's say if we look at the future from more of a typical perception, or my perception, maybe my perception isn't very typical, but what if modern medicine is incredibly advanced in the future? Let's just say that. Like, part of the reasons why we have problems with people getting illness, first, they don't listen to their body, they don't drink enough water, they don't take vitamins, they eat the wrong food, they do work that they hate, and then they wonder why their body gets sick. I mean, the list is pretty long. But also we need to diagnose things much, much faster in modern medicine. So kind of the future of medicine looks like, kind of like Star Trek. You lay on a bed and they know everything that's wrong before it's ever really happened, so it can be taken care of very quickly. So if you start to talk to the future, which exists, then you're going to be able to have awarenesses now in this moment that's going to give you information. I had this interesting conversation in my head for about a year that I had it for about a year, and it didn't happen for 10 years, where I was talking to someone in my life that I would have no reason to have a conversation with. So it's a business relationship, but I never see that person. I met them once and that's it. And I had this conversation, almost like the universe was telling me how to have this conversation. And lo and behold, I ran into that person outside of an elevator in a hotel in another town, and I was able to have that conversation, almost as if the universe was prepping me to have that conversation.
Module 6, find solutions, not answers, for endless possibilities to improve your life.
Yeah, so there's always incredible solutions to everything. When your energy is low, you have the least amount of access to all the solutions are available. So think about it this way. Wherever the vibration is, so if the vibration is low, then you have a low amount of solutions. If the vibration is medium, you have a medium amount of solutions available. If your vibration is really high, you have a high amount of solutions that are available to you.
Module 7, activate high vibrational white noise for a focused and calm inner world.
Yeah, so the mind is supposed to be quiet. It's not supposed to make noise unless you're in the moment getting something factual information that you need in that moment. So I like to do a little bit of Qigong, little seated Qigong to get my neurological system quiet, and then so I can move into meditation. And then I actually listen to white noise. I put it on YouTube, white noise, and I listen to that to meditate. Meditation is there to help us to quiet our mind throughout the day. It's a training. People should look at meditation as something to train your mind to do when you're not meditating.
Module 8, follow your feelings for deeper purpose and fulfillment in life.
Right. And the feelings of calm and relaxation. So if you're making a decision that your vibration is really low at, I would recenter. I would go back to the still point. I would relax and then go back into that place and see how you feel about it. Being in fear is not a correct answer. The universe, your higher self, would never show you anything regarding fear.
Module 9, trust your health intuition with joy for spirit, support, and solutions.
Even if you're going to go through modern medicine, which again, I love all forms of medicine, and you're going to have a procedure or a test, you need to get happy first. If you're going to go in for a mammogram, you need to be happy. First of all, your body's going to respond better. They're going to get better results instead of having some weird kind of, well, we think something might be wrong. You need to come back, and then you need an ultrasound and biopsies or things of that nature. If you can be happy authentically, which means you may not be happy about the procedure, you've got to be happy about something else that's real for you, then your body's going to respond better.
Module 10, feel the breathtaking truth of who you really are to embody your magnificence.
Yeah. So everyone is talented beyond anything that they could possibly imagine. I know I say that a lot, but it's so incredibly true. If you meet anyone who has found out what their natural gift and talent is, they know that's true, because prior to them discovering it, they had no idea what it was. And when we speak our truth, which is the most powerful vortex in the physical body, we align to the fifth layer of our auric field, which is called the divine plan. That's where our life purpose exists. When you speak your truth, energy moves out to that beautiful field of energy and returns to you knowledge, awareness, and highlights your natural gifts and talents so you can identify them.
Module 11, embrace the power of letting go to release grief and receive true wisdom.
Yeah, I think letting go is the highest spiritual act that anyone will ever do. So is it a challenge? Yes. Is it worth the time and energy? 1,000,000 times yes. It's so incredibly powerful. So we'll study techniques on how we can let go over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Module 12, use your heightened vibration to effectively communicate with departed loved ones.
Yeah, so people who have crossed over are pure energy. When you raise your vibration, you're actually closer to their frequency. You're a lot faster to their closer to their frequency. So when you raise your vibration, you can actually hear the multisensory world, whether that's a departed loved one or a spirit guide or an archangel. And people who have passed over, our loved ones, they would love to communicate, love to continue the relationship as much as possible. So it's imperative for us to learn to be in that frequency, because they'll lower their energy as much as they can, but we need to heighten our vibration authentically so that we can get messages from them. And people from the other side are only here to help us. They don't need our help. So it's a blessing when we allow them to do so.
Well, what a cool program, really multidimensional and really opens to a lot of practical skills and gifts. So this program, again, you can see it laid out in detail at multisensoryabilities.com. You get not only the 12 90-minute live sessions with Marie, which include a lot of interactive exercises and practices for home. There's Q&A time, recordings, video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts. You'll get some small group time to connect with other participants, a Facebook community. Plus, on the page, you'll see there's a number of extra bonuses to enhance your journey as well. There's a increase your frequency and reunite your energy with the divine. That's a video teaching with Marie. Plus, for folks who were not in the 7-week program that is just finishing, that you're going to get that entire program bundled in. It's called Expand Your Frequency and Amplify Your Multisensory Powers. It's really getting rave reviews. And that really gives you some of the foundational practices and understandings upon which the 12-week builds. So you can complete the material at your leisure or in parallel, ideally before the course start date, but it's not imperative that you do that. And it really gives you a chance to have this full spectrum of multisensory abilities and practices to build upon. So you get that bundled in. Marie, you want to share a little bit about that program and what how people have been responding?
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun. I'm having a blast, actually. And the response is excellent. People are raising their vibration and their frequency, and they're getting happier, and things are just naturally changing in their life. It's kind of like if you don't water a plant, it can't be at its highest vibration. So when you shift your vibration, it's like a plant getting watered. It can grow, it can be healthy, it can enjoy the seasons. And that's what happens when you start to run your energy at a higher level.
In addition to that great program, there's also a special bonus that you get when you sign up by midnight tonight. It's called Liberate Energy from Previous Lifetimes That Hold You Back, going a little bit deeper into our soul's journey. Marie, you want to share a little bit about that special bonus folks get when they sign up right away?
Yes, I think what's so important to recognize is we need to embrace our past lives. You know, we always want to look and go, oh my God, that's so terrible. And yeah, it was. There's no doubt about it, especially when you think about the Dark Ages or the Crusades, you know, all these really challenging times on Earth. But our soul wanted to be here for that time period. So we're going to also work on celebrating those past lives.
Very cool. Well, it's a very comprehensive program, and you are such an empowering and uplifting teacher, and people are going to be in for a real treat. So again, you can find all the details at multisensoryabilities.com, multisensoryabilities.com. So you get the full package, all of the 12 weeks, the 7 weeks, all the bonuses for just 3 payments of $291. You save 10% when you pay in full with 1 payment of $794. The course is going to start on January 10th, run Tuesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and transcripts and community as well. And I also encourage you to go to the page and check out the testimonials. People just rave about how wonderfully inspiring and full of enthusiasm, astoundingly important to joy and fun. It really takes our whole spirituality, our energy, our intuition to the next level to work with Marie. And she really is very gifted as a teacher and very empowering as a soul. So you're in for a treat, and you're in great hands if you choose to move forward, and you're warmly welcome to do so. So Marie, we have a couple minutes before we're closing our time here. Anything you want to share with folks who are considering going further with you into this deep dive new program on multisensory abilities?
Yes, thank you, Stephen. That was so fun having a conversation with you as well. I just think we're ready. You know, we're ready. We've actually moved authentically into the Aquarian age. So whether we recognize it or not, we are going to open multisensory. We are going to expand. So we might as well be on the leading edge of thought, the cutting edge of awareness, and allow this wonderful experience to be simple, fun, and delightful, with tools and techniques to help carry us into the expansion of human consciousness.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for that warm invitation and all your wisdom and inspiring, uplifting perspective. So thank you, Marie, and thank you all for joining here today. And if you want to go further with Marie, you're warmly welcome to do so. The course is called Unlock Your Multisensory Abilities. Fine-tune your intuitive perceptions and expand your capacity for healing by aligning with source energy. And you're going to get that full package of the 7-week program, the 12-week program, and you're going to get the special bonus on Liberate Your Energy from Previous Lifetimes when you sign up by midnight tonight. So many blessings, and thank you all for joining.